Welcome to Mr. Sleeter's neighborhood. Come with me down the path of discovery while I talk with several industry leaders and innovators who are changing the state of the art in accounting technology.
So Raju, I'm kind of curious to how you kind of got to join Sridhar and what your background is. So start about your background and where you kind of came in here.
Yeah, I grew up in India, middle class family. I did my engineering, computer science, and as soon as I finished my engineering, I was crazy enough to start a company. It's 2 months I'm out, start a company. Again, I had no idea what I was going to do, but eventually figured it out. And then, I think that was back in 98. 98 is when it started. And it started doing well, mid-99. We said, maybe we should expand. So then that is how I actually ended up coming to US, see if there is any expansion opportunity to explore.
Mm-hmm. And that was a different company before?
It was a different company.
Okay.
It's a completely different company.
All right.
And then, after coming here, I had a conflict with one of the co-founders.
I
said, okay, it's not really going to work out. So I said, I need some pause. So I kind of quit that.
Yeah.
And I was just looking for other areas where I can work on. I came here to AdventNet back then.
So it was
maybe
the company.
Oh, your
that was the name of the company,
AdventNet. Okay, yeah. And that's
That was the network,
part of your
networking part.
Networking company.
Networking part.
And you still own it. It's part of your...
Yeah, it's there.
thing.
It's one of the divisions now.
All right. So that's what you joined?
I actually came in to train on a particular product.
Okay.
So there is some maybe opportunities just to get going. I think few weeks into it, Sridhar realized that I was looking for a job. He said, hey, okay, if you're looking for a job, you're in.
Yeah. And you had known each other before or not?
No.
Just kind of met each other
I
and
saw
realized...
him, he was a very smart guy.
Yeah.
I wanted him, so...
Yeah.
it was it.
Well, that's the other thing I want to get to is your judgment of people, because you've got some really good, smart people around you. So, but even, yeah, so AdventNet, you got a job, a real job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was here without a job. So I actually came in with my carry-on from New Jersey. I was back then, there then. Just kind of tinkering around. And pretty much that was what I had.
Right.
Carry-on.
Carry-on bag.
What was supposed to be a 1-week trip became...
Okay.
I think, by the time
16 years now.
I know you still travel a lot, though. So, but you're the one that came up with the name Zoho, right?
Yeah. And in one of these offices, we were just sitting around and looking at various names for some of the new products that
We still have the sofa where we were sitting around.
Yeah.
Where we came up with a name like this. We were talking about
history, These are important little things to note.
We came up with a bunch of names, and all the names, interestingly, were in use today.
Right.
So we had a bunch of names, and we registered a lot of domains. That was when we came across domains like Zap. And
you were thinking domain name short, and it's important the domain name rules all, right?
Rules all, because, name, yes, you can get it, but domain name is tougher to get than registering a name of a company.
Yeah. We thought we would do some software other than that printer, that management stuff.
Right.
We wanted to build software for end users. Now we were ambitious. We wanted a catchy name.
Yeah.
So we were just debating what
and it was right around the time when Soho was, I don't know, I heard Soho, small office, home office.
That's exactly the root of it.
Yeah.
And then there are other aspects too. AdventNet starts with an A because, you want to be in the yellow books ahead of others, right?
That was why,
Well, in the internet days, it didn't really matter. We said, maybe
it's
go
a
the other
Z.
way around.
That's right. See, you saw ahead, but the phone book, you were definitely at the end.
And then the other things, if you looked at some of those domain names out there, all of these interesting, catchy names had a couple of vowels. Google or Yahoo or double O's, right?
Okay.
Generally, if you play with couple of vowels, repeating vowels and all of that, you could come up with an interesting name.
Okay. Yeah.
Experimenting with it, see what domains are available.
Right.
Then we found that this domain was available for $5,000.
Wow.
A little expensive.
Oh, so somebody already really did have
Somebody already had that.
They were ready to
Those
sell it.
people. What were they thinking? They weren't thinking. They just said mixing out alphanumeric characters.
Actually, no, it's a more interesting story than that.
Oh, really?
in 99, 2000, in the bubble,
Yeah.
there was a company called Zoho, and they had raised a lot of venture capital. I believe something like $50 million. And they were building some kind of I believe, a hospitality industry, CRM or something.
Right.
And of course, the bust they
Boom.
finished. And so this was one of the
Assets
last remaining
that
assets that was for sale. And
okay.
it was for sale for $5,000.
Well, there you go. Yeah, you think the domain is
We
not that
were
valuable.
registering it in 2003.
2003. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so you in
And
a
then there's
similar
a story to that.
Right.
He was suggesting, hey, they should buy this domain.
Right.
And I'm looking at it and I said, Raju, $5,000.
I don't have $5,000. Yeah.
You could get a free domain for $8, not $10. I said,
Get another name and it's free.
It's just a name, right?
Uh-huh.
He said, trust me, Sridhar, this is a good name.
So would you do that same thing today? So you ended up buying it, but
Well, we argued
today.
back and forth. He said, okay, look, we're so cheap. I'm going to put my credit card, just buy it.
Oh,
give it to
you
you. And that's what he said.
did you
Then
sell it back to him later?
Actually, after he was so convinced, he was so passionate about it. I said, okay, I relented. So, okay,
Right.
we'll buy it.
Okay.
So we bought it. That's all that happened.
Yeah. Well, but I actually thought about this a lot in today's world, where their domain names are everywhere, and Google's so good at cataloging and indexing the internet that I can find almost anything with a search. So does it, maybe I'm putting words in, does it matter what my domain is now?
Actually,
Brand name matters. I mean, maybe not the domain
brand
aspect,
name.
the brand name matters.
Yes.
You want something people can remember.
Right.
But then I think it has to be a decent name. But Sridhar often says this, where brand is defined by what you launch.
Yeah.
It's the products that define the brand. It's the
Right.
service, the experience. All of these
Right.
are the ones that define the brand. You can call a brand crap.
Yeah,
The crap can be that
they'll still buy it
absolute
if it's
luxury
really
brand
good.
if it is offer great
Still do
service.
that,
and all
these
that.
things,
Yeah.
Okay. Noted. I'll
Actually,
use some of those words that you can't use in my next domain name.
we endo significance to those brands after the fact.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know, just the name Apple
Right.
without the context of Apple, the company
right.
has that much significance. It's just a fruit,
Right.
But they've endowed it with so much brand significance. So that's why I am not.
Right.
No, I think most kind of names can work.
Yeah.
I don't want it too long. So of course, it's short, so it's sweet.
Yeah. So, talk about some of the difficulties that I'll start with you, Raju. Difficulties you had to overcome in your life, where you I can imagine moving out of your home country. What are some of the difficulties you had to kind of cross and overcome in your life?
Well, I'm probably unique in the sense that, at least I think that I'm unique, where I like change.
You like change.
I like change. So
And the human condition is we don't resist
like
change.
change. We are kind of in a regular mode.
Right.
And keep doing whatever we keep doing. So I like change. So I kind of embraced, once I came here, I was doing various other things. Like there's always something challenging. If you keep repeating the same thing, it's boring.
Yeah.
That's another thing I really love about the company, where you're not doing one thing and one thing alone.
Right.
You kind of explore. I started tinkering with systems, doing system administration.
Right.
And then maybe data center stuff.
Right.
Maybe some design work.
Right.
Some product work.
Right.
Like that, if there is a lot of
Moved
things,
around in a lot of different areas.
if you do various things, and if you just do one thing forever, it's boring.
Right.
So change from the temporary things, the smaller things, on what you do on a day-to-day basis, as well as the bigger thing like new location, new place, new
but
thing,
have you,
new job.
There must have been points in this where you changed to something, you just struggled. You just couldn't find something. You couldn't get past it.
That's a challenge, right? That's interesting. Right? That's part of fun. Figuring out that the solution for that is the interesting part.
I remember I asked him Raju, we should set up a data center.
Right.
He had never set up one.
I failed.
But he just ran.
I failed in my networking class.
You filmed?
I failed.
Oh, you failed.
I failed my networking subject. And here we are, Sridhar comes and says, hey, set up a data center.
So failure just didn't bother you.
Well,
Get you down.
that's the education part where you lack the context there.
Yeah.
He just dived into it and he learned whatever he needed to learn. And
So you're like Teflon. It just doesn't bother you. Just
That's part of the fun process.
right.
because you don't get to, don't obsess about it and suffer it.
Yeah, and then it
then it
takes
let
your
it
mind down.
Exactly. That's all it is.
So what about you? For your life, there must have been challenges and difficulties.
I've gone through a few, the coming out of that PhD to the private school,
Realizing you
making
didn't
that
like
decision.
it. Yeah.
It was painful because
Yeah.
I thought that was my life path, and
Yeah.
now suddenly I don't like it, and
Yeah.
it was 6 months of I was going through a kind of, I didn't know, crisis.
Yeah.
Should I do this, not do this, all that. So that was one, and finally I said, okay.
Yeah. So one of the things I kind of ask is like of myself is sometimes it's better to double down, and sometimes it's better to just give it up.
Right.
And I think the magic is knowing which decision to make.
And at a PhD, it took me 4.5, 5 years. So I put in so much effort into it.
Right.
Now I'm thinking I don't want to continue in this anymore. And that is, like, then you are basically writing off the last 4.5 years of your emotional investment into it.
Either of you offer any advice to somebody that wants to know, well, what is that point when I know when to decide to give it up and do different? Is there some...
It has to come from your heart. You have to feel, do you really want to continue doing this?
Yeah.
At some point, I couldn't imagine myself doing that same kind of work again. I didn't believe in it anymore.
Right.
I lost my faith, as I say.
Right.
Religious faith.
So one more relatively quick question. You both have a lot of people working for you. You have had to hire people and judge them and decide when to change for them, whether that means out of the company or whatever. What kind of people do you look for, and how do you know when it's the right kind of person to hire? I'll start with him because I think you're better at it, but I want to know if you're good at it too.
He's good at it, actually. He manages a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think end of the day, you got to recognize what people are good at.
Yeah.
You can be one thing and one thing only. You can be a good, say, father, you can be a good son, you can be a good driver, and you can be a good artist.
Right.
So similarly, when you do a job, you can be good at, say, networking, you can be good at programming, and you can be good at something else.
Right.
But it's important to recognize what a person is good at and put them in the role they enjoy, and guide them through the process. I think that, to me, is probably the core.
So you think it's about knowing what they're good at? Do you talk to them about what they want to do?
Oh, absolutely. You have a dialogue. You have a constant dialogue. As Sridhar always says, if there is an area where they should be improving, you communicate with them instantly.
Yeah.
And if there are areas where positive surprises are good,
right?
Where if someone is excelling, that's okay. You tell them,
right?
And
positive is good, but negative needs to happen quickly.
Quick feedback loop, and everyone's
We also try not to pigeonhole people or slot people into categories.
No pigeons.
They will let them figure out what their real passion is over time. Then they find that works out well for them and for the company.
Yeah.
And that's how we have done it. And so which means that we kind of ignore all these credentials, formally what they got trained in.
Right.
None of that really matters to us as much.
Really?
So we tend to hire them because maybe we think there is some, and we have had cases where people join for one thing, but ended up doing something totally different. And so we prepare for that kind of evolution.
But what we look for is that passion, the hunger to do something, make an impact, or I think those are the underlying thing, no matter what. So I think once you have that, and eventually they'll find their own groove.
And what I have found personally is you hire people to whom that job makes a meaningful difference, as opposed to people, it's indifferent whether you hire me or not. Yeah. Then you get better outcomes.
Yeah.
It matters to them, so they will work harder to keep it.
Yeah. I talk about my reason to live, and if I know it, and your employees know it, and everybody knows their reason to live, then you can help guide them to achieve that. So, yeah, well, thanks for that.
Thanks for joining today, and I'll see you next time.